Hello. Good morning. I must be an adrenaline junkie. This is a little, adrenaline pumping. Anyway, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me. So, I'm going to read you a little something here. Who are you? Said the caterpillar. I hardly know, sir, just at present, Alice replied rather shyly. At least I know who I was when I got up this morning, but I must have changed several times since then. It's from Alice in Wonderland. Hi, my name is Joy Hansen, and welcome to 3 dangerous trends all female entrepreneurs face that keep them frustrated in their business and headed for burnout. So, I've been feeling a little like Alice lately, in that I have changed several times since I woke up this morning. And so before we get started, since we're going to be spending some time together this morning, would it be okay with you if I shared a little bit about who I am so you have some context and also why you should even listen to me? So just go ahead and type in yes so I make sure we're all on the same page. Perfect. Thank you. So I am loving my life right now. I am surrounded by quality friends, a beautiful town to live in. I love living in Prescott, Arizona, which has been a huge surprise for me. And I love living close to my family. And so thank you, Chaplain, and hi. I've surrounded myself with really good food and really good friends and yoga and dancing and all the things that I love. And it's awesome. But it wasn't always like this for me. I really struggled in my business in the beginning. And I did not have clarity. I didn't have focus. And I was following absolutely everyone's advice on what I should do. Thank you, Chaplain. And what I should be doing, what I should be spending my time on, what I should be focused on. And I was going in 1,000 different directions at lightning speed, trying to get it all done. And I was losing my mind. I was losing my health, and I was stressed out, and I just was losing my enjoyment for my life. And that wasn't okay for me. And so it wasn't until that I found a process that took me through what I needed to go through in order to identify what I needed, what I wanted, me, not anyone else. Nobody knows what I want. And so identifying only those things that light me up and make me happy and make me joyful. And as I identified what those were and implemented them in my life, that was when I started really experiencing success. And success for me is how I define it, not how other people define it. And so now I get to experience success in my life every day, in my business and in everything I do. So it's awesome. And that is plenty about me. So let's talk about you. Hi, Damien. Long time no see. So by the end of this class, you will be able to identify what it's time for you to let go of in your life. That's number 1. Number 2, you'll identify the number 1 thing you can do to make a shift in your business right now. And number 3, identify the first step that needs to happen so you can start attracting clients. So, and I just want to, just let you know I will be using notes this morning so that I make sure that I cover everything I want to cover. So if I'm looking down, that's what I'm doing. So thank you for allowing me to do that. So Saturday was the Women's March on Washington, and in Prescott, Arizona, we had our square. 1,200 people showed up. And I've just been noticing during this time that it's just brought up, there's a lot of change happening in our government and in our world. And it has, brought a lot of fear for people. But it's, we're going through a huge transition, and it's a huge waking up and a shaking up of our world, and it needs to happen, I think. And so as things transition around us, we can also experience transition within ourselves. Sometimes as a reflection of what's happening outside, or what's happening outside is a reflection of the transition that is happening within us. So it can be easy for some people to be pulled into the drama and the fear of what is going on in the world. And there are also those of us that use these times to master our own self and become the captain of our own ship and guide our ship where we want it to go, regardless of what is happening around us. And so if you couldn't tell, that's my angle. So this brings me to the third dangerous trend that female entrepreneurs face, that keep them unconsciously pushing away their clients and headed for burnout. All entrepreneurs. So the third dangerous trend is not moving through the first stage of transition. So what is this? The first stage of transition is disengagement. Disengagement is a leaving of the familiar physically. So leaving the job, moving to a new town, experiencing a breakup, all of those are disengagements. They're leaving physically from one thing. And so an example of this for me, I moved to Prescott, Arizona about 2 years ago from Oakland, California. And I tried to make it work in Oakland. I had just come out of many huge life transitions and moved back to Oakland, was trying to reconnect with my friends, with my environment, and it just wasn't clicking. And so, hi, Miley. So good to see you. Hi, Jesse. And I figured after 1 year of trying to make it happen, that was plenty. I did not need to spend any more time trying to make it work. And so I decided to move to Prescott, Arizona. And so I had left everything that I had known. This life thing is so fun. There's little hearts going across. I love it. So I left, what was familiar, the gym I went to and the dance class I was in, all of the friends that I would see every single day. Just driving around, the freeways were familiar. The Trader Joe's across the freeway was familiar. And so I left all of that. And so that stage is called disengagement. So another analogy, the other day I saw a post on Facebook, and it was this woman, and she walks tightropes. And she started... Thanks, Damien. So she started practicing. I don't know if you've seen in parks where people put the tightrope in between trees, but it's only like a couple feet from the ground. And so she practiced doing that, and now she does it between buildings, so high in the air. And she does it in heels, and it's insane. And so in the tightrope analogy, disengagement would be her letting go of what is secure and familiar on that side of the tightrope. And then the transition is walking across the tightrope. So why is this important? It's so important to understand this because if someone doesn't acknowledge this stage in the transition, they can't be fully present in their life now. Hi, Jim. So I just want to say that again. So the reason that it's so important to understand this part is that if someone doesn't acknowledge this stage of the transition, they leave parts of themselves behind. And so this can cause someone to not connect with people, resulting in a lack of clients or just even in a lack of social life. Or it can be always looking back and thinking, what if? What if I stayed in Oakland? Maybe I just needed to stay a little bit longer and then everything would have been fine. Or I wish, this just constant pattern of thinking of back there. I wish it would have worked out with my partner. I wish it would have I would have been happier at the wherever I was working. Whatever those stories are, they're always looking back, and it doesn't allow for forward movement. So these types of patterns of thinking can lead to anxiety or depression or just complete burnout because so much energy is used up in looking back. So as I've been preparing for the new year and getting ready to create my Better Business Lifestyle plan, I noticed I was making a big mistake. In my excitement to start something new, and I'm feeling a lot of energy for 2017 and a lot of excitement, but in all of that, I was getting ahead of myself. And so I was realizing that what needed to happen first is, a pausing and a looking back, an assessing of what has happened in 2016. And what does that look like? Taking an assessment of what my life has looked like before I go rushing off into the future. So, in that, what's important is me not taking into my future all of the habits and behaviors that I don't want. So I'm not going to know that unless I take time to look back and look at my patterns and look at my behaviors and see what I don't want to be bringing with me into 2017. So another analogy is, I'm using me as a car. So I need to check the engine of my body and my mind and my soul before I put the pedal to the metal. So if I'm going to go 0 to 100 miles per hour, I don't want to do that if I need an oil change or a timing belt or a new transmission. I'm not very car savvy, but I think those are all things that I would need. So I need to make sure that my engine is fully resourced, fully fueled up before I hit the ground running. Otherwise, I will completely break down. And so as we transition from 2016 to 2017, we're also transitioning from who we were, and who we are becoming. And so it's important to consciously walk through the stages of transition and be aware of what they are so that we're not just hitting the repeat button on 2016 of all the habits and behaviors and patterns that we don't want. One of my favorite mentors, Mary Morrissey, says, you can live 100 years, or you fill in your blank for however old you're going to live till, or you can live 100 days. Pardon me. You can live 100 years, or you can live one day 100 times. And so since approximately 90% of our behavior is subconscious, totally happens without us knowing it at all, unless we make a conscious effort to change our course, we'll just keep repeating things the way that they have always been. So in order to have a strong beginning, whether you're starting a new career, a new business, a new relationship, first what needs to happen is an ending, and then a beginning. And so only when the old is left behind can we truly have a new beginning. It's the same in nature. The tree has to die and lose all its leaves and have its winter time in order to be healthy. And so much happens during that transition time underneath the surface. And what happens is essential to the health of that tree, and it's also essential to the health of who we are. And so as we can pay attention to that transition within ourselves, that's what's going to really move the needle for our health and our growth. So how can this dangerous trend of not going through the first stage of transition, which we talked about is disengagement, how can we avoid this? So the first step is to acknowledge that there's been a change. so often people rush through transitions. A change in a relationship, a change in a job, a change in a location. And it's important just to take a minute for yourself and acknowledge what has happened. And acknowledge where you are now. So if you could just take a deep breath with me. Hi, Krista. Take another deep breath. And one more. I like threes. Thank you. So I have some inquiry questions for you as we wrap up our time today. And I will be emailing you these questions, so you'll get 2 emails with the video as well, as long as you're on my email list. And so what we're going to be looking at is, what have you kept in your baggage long past its time? What needs to go? So I'm going to read you these questions, and then you can go through them on your own as you receive them in your email. And if you aren't on my email list, just you can go to my Facebook page, Facebook.com/Joy for Wellness, click sign up, and then that will get you in my email list, and you'll also get a free gift, my Confidently Clear checklist. So the questions are these. Number 1, where have you left parts of yourself behind? Number 2, what have you disengaged from, so what have you left physically, that you have been avoiding acknowledging? Something maybe you haven't wanted to look at. And number 3, is there something you need to disengage from but have been putting it off? Number 4, what thoughts do you have that need to go? And number 5, what stories need to go? Those are your 5 questions. And then there's a bonus challenge question. So many of us have stories. I'm going to say this. Some people have stories that they tell themselves over and over again in their head multiple times a day. And some of them are quite painful. Some of them are supportive, but some of them cause a great deal of pain. And so your bonus challenge question is, you ready? What story that has been holding you back or causing you pain are you now ready to tell for the very last time and be done with it forever? So this is going to be one thing that can cause a huge shift in your business. What is that one story that you keep telling yourself that isn't supporting you, that's causing you and probably other people pain, because that's how you are seeing them? When? So I'll tell you my story. This was the story that I told for the very last time. So when I was growing up, I had one of my best friends, and we just loved each other so much, had so much fun, were just inseparable. And growing up in our years, something happened and I felt betrayed. And I felt justified in my betrayal and how I felt about it, felt justified in my position. It, in a way, got me sympathy from others as I told the story, because I'd been wronged and it was awful. And I made myself a victim in telling this story. I probably told myself that story hundreds of times. I probably told that story to people hundreds of times. And every time I would tell the story, it would cause me pain. It would cause me pain in how I thought about the people that I loved. And it caused me pain by perpetuating a feeling of being a victim, not being in control of my own life. And it didn't support me in my commitments in the way that I want to think about people and love people. And so during my holistic health practitioner certification, this was an exercise that we did. And so I chose that story to tell for the very last time. And so, within a circle of trusted colleagues and friends, I told my story and told as much of it as I needed to tell, so that I could really experience it thoroughly. And I told it for the very last time. And by me doing that, it changed my life. And it gave me the freedom to allow other amazing experiences into my life. It allowed me to let that story go. It allowed me to stop thinking about those people in that way. It allowed freedom and space in my heart to allow other people to fill it and allow other thoughts to enter my mind. And I let it go, and I didn't tell that story ever again. And when I think about them now, I think about them with love and joy and gratitude, and I am free. And I'm free now to allow more love into my life. So it was an incredible process, just having that intention and making a statement like that. It's very powerful. So that's your challenge. Whether you're up to it or not, it's up to you. And feel free to have a conversation with me about this. It just in posting on this video, which I'll post later. And if you have any questions about the process or my experience or anything, I would love that. So what you would do with this exercise is just find a trusted friend, let them, explain to them the process, have them witness you, tell your story for the last time, and then be with them in that moment. So you tell your story and then breathe 3 times with that person. And just feel the empowerment of you bringing your power back. Because every time you think about something that causes you pain, your energy goes out to that. That's where you're putting your attention. And so feeling bringing all that power back, feeling what that feels like, being witnessed by someone else, take 3 deep breaths within that moment. And then if you are a hugger like me, refrain from hugging at this time. Really keep the integrity of the power that you just created for yourself within yourself and just be witnessed. It's a very powerful experience. And then let it go and allow yourself to let in a bazillion other amazing experiences. So, anytime I feel a transition or I'm going through a transition, I have this book called Transitions that I always go to. And one of my favorite quotes that is in that book is this: don't start your new journey without unpacking your baggage from your old one. And so that's what's available to us here, moving through the stage of disengagement, which is the first stage of transition that we're talking about today. And then we will identify the next 2 dangerous trends that entrepreneurs face in the next 2 videos. So great job listening. Thank you so much for your presence and your likes and your loves and your attention. Thank you so much. And so keep an eye out in your inbox for video number 2, which will be the second most dangerous trend that entrepreneurs face that keep them frustrated in their business and headed for burnout. And also be sending you this video along with the handouts for today. So those questions plus the bonus question. And I trust that you have created great value for yourself, because I know that you are a beautiful, amazing, wonderful person because you're here. So thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you soon. And until then, remember that you are loved. See you later. Have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon.